And welcome back to another episode of the Double Dunk Podcast. My name is Brenden. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're talking strictly Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to break down the absolute ass whooping the Eagles got handed to them against the San Francisco 49ers in Week 13. We're going to talk about what went wrong, what's concerning us, what improvements they can make. We're going to translate that to the Dallas Cowboys game that's coming up on Sunday Night Football. I'm joined by Thomas Petersen, who is currently in the process of moving houses, and he still had time to fly from Denmark to Philadelphia to sit up front of the NovaCare complex and hold a run the ball sign. Thomas, I don't know how you did it, but I'm glad you're back home safe.
I think, I think me being able to return in time to do this podcast was absolutely the hardest deal of it. Yeah, flight hours are unpredictable, man. At least they brought me coffee outside.
Yeah. Sirianni brought you coffee. Yep. I love how Sirianni said that he gave them coffee personally. More was like, he sent the water boy out there to deliver coffee to you, but it's nice to see that you're back home. Kind of a crazy athletic feat to get from the NovaCare complex back to Denmark, but
absolutely the biggest accomplishment for Philadelphia sports in the past week.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I have no idea I was interested if they played or anything like that, but yeah.
I thought it was very funny when I saw that this morning, of the picture of the run the ball sign. Eagles fans never change, man. Never change.
Nope. Undefeated.
Yep, undefeated for sure. Okay, there's a lot to talk about. I know this is kind of a weird place to start, but there's a video going around that happened last night. I don't know if you saw this yet, of Derek Carr. Have you seen Derek Carr from NFL Network?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I'm usually I've been doing my best for the last couple of years, like push back on nonsense you see on Twitter or whatnot. This one just kind of hit me differently. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, it really kind of grind my gears a little bit. I just feel like if you're gonna have, I think Sheil Kapati actually just put a video from The Ringer out. I watched it before this podcast, which was great. He explained, like, if you're gonna have these takes about Jalen Hurts and pushing back on that he should be benched for Marcus Mariota, maybe show your work a little bit more than spew this nonsense on NFL Network. It's like the most premier show, the most premier network to talk about football, and we're talking about benching Jalen Hurts or Marcus Mariota. I thought it was absolutely insane, and I just wanted to bring it up.
Sports talk in general has just taken a massive downturn from the the big time media. You can just tell that so much of it is suffering in terms of having to do this stuff to get views and get clicks and get likes, and like how everything is really how things are being measured in terms of success for these stations is basically just how much interaction it gets. And it just gets so obvious when you have something like that, even on NFL Network, like you said. Like, you used to have a platform where you at least could go for some objective talk and not just hot takes, and not even just hot takes, but like dumb, stupid shit that is made up for attention.
I honestly believe it was one of the worst sports takes I've ever heard. Like,
yeah,
this is up there with, like, I don't know if you've seen this take, but like when Max Kellerman said that Andre Iguodala should be taking the shot over Steph Curry in a game. It's like one of the most viral. He's like, I want Iguodala. Like, that video, everyone knows that video. At least that video was entertaining for other, and we can laugh at it. This is just bullshit. Like, Marcus Mariota, did you watch him in Atlanta last year? David Carr, did you watch him?
The guy who quit on his team.
Yeah, like and it's like the Eagles are sitting at 10-2, and you have the national media calling for him to be benched, and the biggest network, like, the NFL's paying him to say this stuff. I baffled by it. It pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. It was really dumb.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's just going to trickle down to all the other sports talk places that aren't as big, because they just need to. I mean, basically, they need to top that to get the attention. Yeah. It's stupid.
And it's funny because I actually thought the national attention was pretty calm after that Eagles 49ers loss. Like, I think Eagles fans handled it pretty well. I thought the national media was handling it pretty well. And then we get that absolute garbage nonsense. So Jalen Hurts does not need to be benched for Marcus Mariota is basically where I'm coming from. And if you're going to have that take, David, I would like to see some film on exactly what Mariota could do better than Hurts, because I didn't see that in that 1 minute 30 second video clip. All right.
Saw him complete a pass and then went haywire. I don't know.
Marcus, there's like that video or that throw that Marcus Mariota made in preseason this year where he fucking airmails Calcaterra, like in that Browns game. Like, just go watch some of the preseason tape on Mariota, and your decision would be like, that's all you need to do. Like, Jalen Hurts is still 10-2, and he's 27-3 in his last 30 starts. So I don't even know what we're doing here anymore.
No, I mean, if you want to come out and be like, I mean, he's obviously playing hurt. He's obviously not comfortable with all this. Like, at least it makes it somewhat considerable.
And that
Although
was the
still,
beginning of the take that he had. Like, that was the first 30 seconds was like, Hurts isn't healthy enough. And it was kind of like, all right, I'll somewhat buy this.
yeah, it's
And
still
then
a shit take. But I mean, it's like, all right, you're concerned about the player.
and then he just went into
sort of
Mariota being better. Like, the whole take just kind of went haywire.
yeah, it's just
Nonsense. Anyways, Eagles lose 42-19 to San Francisco 49ers. It was an ass kicking in basically every possible way. The 49ers offense had the second highest EPA per drive output of the season in a single game. The only other better game was the San Francisco 49ers against the Arizona Cardinals. I believe that was week 4 or week 6 earlier this year. So Jonathan Gannon and Sean Desai currently own the 2 worst defensive performances of the year. I thought that was pretty funny, but they had -6 yards the first 2 drives that turned into 472 yards, 8 of 9 on third down going forward. It was the Eagles defense couldn't do anything. We've watched the tape on it. What is your kind of takeaway a couple of days later on the defensive side of the ball?
the defense got absolutely smoked. I mean, it was everything the 49ers did was it was running the ball, passing the ball, everything out of motion, slip screens, like tight ends slip out the backfield. Everything worked for them in that regard. It was complete and utter chaos, especially over the middle for the Eagles. They had no answers for anything that was happening across the middle. And just that combined with an inability to win the line of scrimmage and to stop the run for the 49ers was basically the end of it. I mean, they had 2 3-and-outs to begin the game. Other than that, it was touchdown, 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 end of game.
6 straight touchdowns.
6 straight touchdowns, and they couldn't even get them off the field at the very end to at least get the ball back. It was such an utter mismatch and domination from the 49ers offense that that game obviously took the Eagles defense down a lot in their average performance over the season. But given just right now, even take this game out of the equation, Eagles defense have still been a bottom 5 defense on key situations like third down, fourth down, points allowed. But in this game as well, they're the second worst defense since week 3. They've been the worst defense on third down. They've been the worst defense on fourth down. They can't get off the field, and it's bad.
Mm-hmm. So some takeaways from watching the All-22 on just last night. I really thought it was matchup based, a lot of it. Like I didn't think the 49ers were doing anything crazy. Like, no. And I don't think Sean Desai. I don't think Sean Desai was had some bad scheme. Like there's a couple things I think he could have done differently, which I'll jump into, but it was a lot of just Nicholas Morrow is not better than the guy that he's in front of. Like that was it. Nicholas Morrow had 8 targets in this game. The next highest guy had 3. They were specifically keyed in on Nicholas Morrow in passing concepts. They were like, this is the guy we want to attack, and this guy we're going to attack. And he allows 6 catches on those 8 targets for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. On top of that, he couldn't tackle. That was another thing that was really like this. They just couldn't bring the 49ers down. Like, and this is something that hasn't been a problem. They were 17th in missed tackles heading into that game. So they're about middle of the pack. So this wasn't something that was a glaring issue for the Eagles heading in. And the 49ers are actually 7th in the NFL on yards after catch this year. As much as everyone says the 49ers are some glaring yards after catch team and they're the first in the NFL and they're the best at it, they were like 7th. Like they're better, but like they weren't the best. So this wasn't like the worst tackling team going against the best yards after catch team. It was just a poor performance from just fundamentals on the Eagles, in my opinion, on the players. Nicholas Morrow is one to, and the secondary was bad. Christian Ellis did not have a good game either. Beside him, he got waived today, so he's going to probably end up back on the practice squad to make room for Shaq Leonard. I thought the safeties didn't look too good. Kevin Byard, Reed Blankenship to get their hands on any balls. They couldn't tackle anyone either. They had a couple missed tackles. I also thought the motion really, really screwed this team up. I caught like 4 different times in the first half where they sent a tight end or someone in lines, someone close to the line of scrimmage in motion, and you could see the Eagles confused on what to do, who to pass it off to. Would the defensive line move a gap over? It was fundamentals, just abomination. Like, this wasn't some scheme overpowering another scheme. I don't know if that's good or bad. Like, I think that's worse in the long run, right? Like, you would rather it have been like some scheme Kyle Shanahan performance. It wasn't really that. It was just this team played a lot better than the guys on the other side of the ball. I know it's pretty
Yeah,
a
and I
standard
think
thing to
it's
say, but that's what happened.
yeah, true, and I think also that I think I think it's true when you say that the past couple of weeks and games has been leading up to this. Like, you go back to the Buffalo Bills game, they claw out a victory in that game. But let's be honest, if James Cook catches that pass right down the sideline from Josh Allen, that's a touchdown. If they don't block the field goal, you add 3 points there. They had a couple of plays otherwise that got called back on some penalties by the Bills, and Eagles get some calls with them in that game as well. It's like you're so close to a game like that also slipping out of your hands by allowing multiple touchdowns on plays where Bills players are hurting Bills players. Like, they're actively on their offense not doing a good enough job. You have the Chiefs game. Marcus Valdes-Scantling catches that pass down the field as well. Eagles played very well in that game. We discussed that, but you're this close to losing a game, and then you claw a victory. That's great. That's fine. That's what good teams do. We say that all along. But we've been discussing all about these games. That Dallas Cowboys game as well. How did Cowboys not win that game in Philadelphia? They had so many chances to come away with that game. Eagles did everything to lose that game as well. So it all kind of led up to this, where the opponent's offense played a near flawless game, and they did everything they wanted, and they were the better team. Had all the better players, and I think it kind of led up to that moment where in this game you don't have the defense carrying the offense when they don't do good enough. You have the defense with two, 3 and outs. You have the offense not being able to capitalize with touchdowns, and then you're. I think everybody knew when it was 6-0 and the 49ers that they're going to get going at some point,
Yeah.
and they did, and they finished it off in that regard. So this was one of those games where the offense did not provide the spark that the defense needed, and the defense did not step up when they needed to. So I think it all kind of boils down to this. And shoot, if they had to have a makeup game or a get right game, they did well after the Jets game. They were super impressive at that. What has been an insane haul of games. So if this provides a spark to beat the Cowboys in Dallas, you basically have the division almost locked up at that point. And then you have the Giants 2 times in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, their last 3 games are Giants, sandwich in between Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah,
Like,
and
that's
so you have the
that's as
Seahawks.
easy as you're gonna
Otherwise,
get.
yeah. So if they beat the Cowboys, and their schedule is right there for the number 1 seed, or at least the NFC East division title.
Yeah.
So much rather that they we'll see when we get to Dallas here. But if they figure shit out and they know, all right, we got to be better. Like Jason Kelsey has been saying it all along. I don't know if you listen to the New Heights podcast, like you could just hear the disappointment in his voice when he's talking about the
Yeah, I
offense.
wrote an article at the Score about that on Monday about how Kelsey was pissed after the game. Like, he was very emotional. I know, not emotional, but he was very, like, wasn't holding back his words. Like, they know what's going on in the building. Like, they're not kind of delusional here. Just a couple more things on the defense that I thought was interesting, and then I think is the biggest problem is the pass rush was invisible against Brock Purdy and the 49ers in this game. And one of the reasons why I actually thought the Eagles were going to be in this one, like I thought the week was going on, like when it hit Saturday, I'm like, I kind of had bad feelings about the game. We didn't do an episode last week. We didn't get our predictions out. But when I was thinking about it, I'm going, this kind of doesn't look like the best matchup for the Eagles. I could see a loss coming. I thought they would keep it close. I thought they would keep it competitive. I did not see a shit kicking like this coming. No, I don't think very many people did. But the pass rush was a big problem. They had 1 quarterback hit after the first 2 drives. They had 3 quarterback hits all game. 1 was after the first 2 drives. The Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick were absolute non-factors in this game. They combined for a pass rush win rate of 8.9%. Both of them had their lowest pass rush win rate games of the year. And I'm worried about how much time they're playing Thomas. If you take a look at the previous 4 weeks before the 49ers game, they were playing a combined of 84% of the snaps, those two. That is a lot of football, like especially for defensive ends. So the Eagles right now are the seventh highest spending edge defensive team in the NFL. That's where the money on the defense is allocated to. And the draft picks are allocated to the interior, right? They drafted Jordan Davis, they drafted Jalen Carter. All of the assets and all of the money, all of the resources that Howie Roseman has been able to at his disposal on the defense are on the front four first guys. If those guys aren't playing well, if those guys aren't getting pressure, this defense is going to suck. That's basically it. And I know it's a very, again, I hate like giving out simple cliches and simple reasons why this isn't working on the defense side of the ball, but it's pretty simple. You don't get the quarterback, you're not going to win football games. And this was a great example of it because this was a mediocre to below average 49ers offensive line, and they couldn't do anything with it. So I think the snap play has something to do with it. Josh Sweat, just in general, I thought was his worst game, maybe even Eagle I've seen in a long time, especially on the second watch. He was getting no wins on the outside, and he had 2 offside penalties that were really crucial to the game. So it was arguably his worst game. Those Son Reddick and Josh Sweat just have to play better. We talked about on previous episodes. Those 2 are the MVPs of this team, or how valuable they are outside of Jalen Hurts, and they just have to be the best players on the team, or this team isn't going very far.
Yeah, I agree. And also, like, Jalen Carter has his insane win rate and entry into the league has also taken a little bit of a notch down. He's still really impressive. He's still very good. He's doing things that are still very impressive. But like every other defensive tackle, now he's losing more than he's winning. And that just wasn't the case before. And obviously that's because he gets a lot more snaps than he did before. Fletcher Cox has been banged up, so he's been taking a lot more snaps. You can visibly see him being a lot more tired. And so you don't have a lot of that pop in his punches when he's moving off the line. And that takes him out a little bit in some of the games here. Same with Jordan Davis. I think I'll say though, I've been really impressed by how Jordan Davis has played, given how many snaps he's been playing.
Yeah,
it's not great football. He's not the same dominant player, but he's also increased his snap load by double at least in the past few weeks here. So you're asking a lot of him, and I think relative to that, they've played these 3 games here, Bills, Chiefs, and 49ers in 13 days. I think it's been very respectable what they've been putting on the field, at least. But yeah, when the rest of the D-line isn't winning their matchups, they just suck as a defense because
Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis led the team in pass rush win rate in that game. Like the 2 interior guys were their best pass rushers, and in the NFL, like you're not going to be. You need pressure from the edge to counter the pressure in the interior. Like you can't just have one going without the other. You brought up the third down stats. The Eagles right now are dead last in third down. The Eagles right now have the least amount of sacks in the NFL on third down in the entire NFL, tied for 32nd, and they have the worst pass rush win rate on third down in the NFL. There it is. That's what's wrong.
Yep.
It's pretty straightforward. And look, Howie Roseman's a great general manager. I get it. We love him. He's built a good roster. He's built a monster of a roster, in my opinion, for this year. But if the defensive line isn't working, this team isn't gonna do well. Like the Eagles right now are second last in linebacker spending and dead last in safety spending. So this is a team that does. That's why they're not doing well up the middle. Is because they just haven't allocated money there. Here's like more of a big picture zoomed out question for you. Are you worried about Darius Slay and James Bradbury from here on out into next year being the starting 2 cornerbacks?
I don't know if I'm worried, but I'm not as confident that they're a top duo in the league. Like if your expectation is that those 2 are going to be the best duo or top 5 duo in the NFL, and I guess they're being paid that way, so you would expect that. Then yes, I'm worried because that's not what I think we're going to be getting. But I still think they're going to be a respectable duo on the outside to a point where We don't know how the draft is going to be shaken out, but I think they're good enough to a point where you can still hopefully draft some high level talent and fade them out over the years. But I don't have any faith at all that they're going to be a top duo. No.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried about these two. And I haven't seen the play it's been a drop off from last year to this year for both of them. Darius Slay, I thought in the 49ers game, just I don't know if it was effort. Like I didn't love what I saw on the second watch around on the All-22 film from Darius Slay. That an under talked about play in the game I thought was that third and I think it was 3rd and 16 on this third drive, the 49ers offensive drive. Darius Slay is like a 15-yard cushion on Brandon Ayuk. They throw a quick, it was a quick completion to him, and then it was like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, and the 49ers get it. And from that point on, like from that 12-yard completion on the outside of Ayuk, the rest of the game was history. Like it was over at that point. The 49ers just continued to roll. So I feel like the Eagles aren't trusting Darius Slay and James Bradbury as well. Like they're not putting a man up. Like I really don't understand why we're not seeing a ton more man coverage from those guys, and it's probably because they're not trusted, and the Eagles defense, Sean Desai and the defensive backs coach and whoever's calling plays, running this defense, building up a game plan, is not trusting these guys to win those matchups. And just back to quick spending, I know I brought up a couple of them already. The Eagles are 4th in cornerback spending this year. Darius Slay and James Bradbury, I was looking at their contracts. You can't get out of them next year. They are the starting 2 cornerbacks next year. Unless someone's acquiring Darius Slay or James Bradbury via trade, the cap hits and the dead money go away. But they are owed a lot of money, those two combined, over the next, like Darius Slay's on the books till 2028 in void years. Like the contracts they dished out. I know this is depressing. I know it's probably not exactly what everyone wants to hear, but I have little confidence in this defense right now. Unless that defensive line pushes forward and gets sacks. And it's a really tough way to live on just relying on one unit of your defense.
Yeah, but on the counterpoint, I guess we could say that there's nobody else on the team right now that would provide anything better. Like,
oh no chance. That's like that. But that's part of the problem, right? That's part of the roster building.
Yeah.
Right? Like it kind of goes hand in hand. Like that's another thing. Like Eli Ricks, for some reason, they put Eli Ricks on third down on over the last like few weeks. He has not been that guy.
Nope.
So they're trying things. Like Sean Desai's trying to move stuff around, trying new guys, trying new players. It's just a lack of talent up the middle of the defense right now.
But you brought up a good point in terms of spending and where you'd expect your team to be carried. And obviously for the defense, it's on the defensive line, but also for the offense in general. Like you're spending a ton of money on your offense. Like you're spending on safeties and linebackers goes down a lot because you're spending that much on wide receivers, offensive line, and quarterback. And the past 3 weeks together here, we've seen like 6 points in the entire first half against the 49ers. You got 7 points against the Chiefs. You got 7 points against the Bills. That's 3 games with the combined 20 points in the first half of those. I think just overall the offense from the eye test does not look prepared. They're not executing. The play calls are really eerie to the point where you in a lot of situations it just seems like they're. I have a friend of mine. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine always texts me during Eagles games. He's from Denmark as well. He always goes, whenever Eagles start up a drive in the first quarter, he always goes, "Are you ready for 3 things here? Incomplete pass or Jalen Hurts rushes out the pocket and he throws the ball away. QB keep and then wide receiver screen." And I shit you not, he'll tick off whenever it happens. And more often than not, he's right. I mean, those are the QB keep and the wide receiver screens they're so heavily used to a point where I'm worried about the lack of creativity. I'm worried about the lack of finding new strengths of the offense, if not Jalen Hurts running the ball, because it's simply not good. He's hurt. He doesn't move around. He doesn't shake defenders. He doesn't plow through contact like he did last year. It's not effective. You have to find other ways to build your offense around. Not just around Jalen Hurts, the runner, but more like build up a running game from under center. Have these guys have 2 extra yards instead of always having the shotgun read option or RPO like type thing. it just doesn't work when defenses aren't afraid of Jalen Hurts, and they aren't because he slides down after 2 yards whenever he's about to get hit. Naturally, because he's hurt.
Yeah, I think the defense could definitely benefit from a better offense. Like that kind of goes hand in hand for sure. The 49ers game on the offensive side of the ball. Do you have anything left on the defense?
No,
In that game?
I'm good.
There
No.
really isn't much else. Like it was
No.
just matchup on matchup, bad tackling.
I don't want to get into all the referee type stuff that I'm seeing some on Twitter. The referees didn't do shit in this game. Eagles lost all of that. Like,
yeah, this was just a spanking.
Yeah.
This was the Tom. I used this reference on my podcast on Monday, the recap in the week. This was that meme of Tom just spanking Jerry, like just on that GIF, just over and over again. There was no referees being involved. There was probably a couple calls here and there, like the Quez Watkins. I thought it was pass interference, but even if that happens, like it probably doesn't affect the game anyways. Okay, the offense in this game. I think we can kind of zoom out and combine this into big picture talk like you just had, because this was the first game where I've been behind on the Brian Johnson pushback. I've been behind on the play calling and the creativity offense. Like I haven't been there yet, like a lot of fans have been. I think this game really kind of stood out to me for the criticism to that. I thought the game plan out the gate was not effective. I thought the game plan was lame. I thought it was short-sighted. I really didn't think that they did their best job of trying to attack this 49ers defense. The first couple of drives, and basically in general in the entire game, the only offensive production this team got was A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith just making plays. Like there was not like a design play where you go, that was cool. That worked. Let's do that again. Like Devonta Smith had the screen pass that got the 3rd-19 play. AJ Brown had like 2 slants that got him like 30 plus yards on both of them. This was just more like, and I feel like it's almost been that way a little bit all year, but it really stood out this game. Is just they don't win if AJ Brown and Devonta Smith are just not dunking on guys, and they need more than that. And it kind of stood out in this game.
Yeah. I think Smitty was phenomenal again. That was it. I don't know. Was it 3rd and 16? The screen pass,
19, I think, right?
3rd and 19 with him, where he just plows through 2 would-be tacklers and gets the first down on that play. That was probably the offensive highlight of the day.
Devonta Smith's been on fire lately. Over his last 5 games, he has 32 catches for 451 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's been arguably the best player in offense over this kind of gauntlet stretch. It's because show big time guys come up with big time moments, and Devonta Smith has been that, and they're going to need him to continue to be that going forward.
Yeah, I don't understand Sometimes I catch myself wondering what DeAndre Swift did to some of the coaches on the team, because the roller coaster of usage of him has been weird. And whenever they're coming back in games against the Bills, for example, against the Chiefs, key plays in the second half started off with DeAndre Swift. It started and finished with DeAndre Swift, but getting them back in those games. The fact that he's being outsnapped by Kenny Gainwell, the fact that Quez Watkins is outsnapping Olamide Zaccheaus, I don't get it, Brenden. I think you're putting worse guys on the offense intentionally.
Yeah, there's a couple ways to look at this. So I was like, DeAndre Swift right now is 9th in the NFL in carries. So he's in top 10 in carries. However, a lot of those are skewed because of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game when he ran like 25 plus touches. Like there was a couple of games that he has that. It's almost like they use him heavy or they just don't use him at all. Like he only had 6 carries in this game against the 49ers. Now, the Eagles' run offense wasn't doing good at the beginning of the game. They had 2 successful runs all game. It was the Jalen Hurts tush push in the end zone, and it was the Marcus Mariota tush push when he was out of the game. So they didn't have one successful running back carry all game, which is a problem. But I really felt like they could have tried to open things up and tried more avenues in the run game instead of just completely abandoning it. And I went back and I was curious. I'm like, it feels like every time the Eagles lose, it's pass happy. And it's true. The Eagles have had in their 2 losses against the New York Jets and the San Francisco 49ers, they've combined for 101 dropbacks and only 23 running back carries in those games. And it's not like both of these games have been like the 49ers. I think it was an 8-point game at one point midway through the 3rd quarter. right? Like the Eagles offense was able to keep it somewhat close. And in the New York Jets game, they were winning that whole game up until 3 minutes left. So it just feels like whenever this team abandons the run and just doesn't believe in the in the running back carries, it's really a fault on this team. And it's like, I get you want to get the ball in Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown's hands, but some of the best players on this roster are the offensive linemen. And Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson. Like, these guys are top tier offensive linemen, so you want to use them as well. And they're at their best when they're on the move in the run game. So I really want Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni and the offensive coordinators to focus more on just inside zone runs and taking guys off their blocks. Use more duo runs. I haven't seen like a nice duo Eagles run in so long, and that's what they're best at. When Kelsey and those guys are getting upfield, like going forward straight up the middle, it's what the Eagles are best at, and it's not there right now. And the stats back it up, Thomas. They're 24th in EPA per rush since week 8.
Does that include Jalen Hurts, the signed QB runs?
Everything. That's rush EPA. That's across the board.
So you could take like half of that, and you can put it on Hurts running.
Yeah, but like a lot of those are also like Hurts' tush pushes, and like the EPA stuff is like skewed. If you took away Jalen Hurts' like touchdown tush pushes, they're probably in the 28th, 29th range.
Yeah, you're probably
what
right.
I mean? Yeah,
you're probably right.
Like his EPA, that's the thing with the Eagles running. A lot of time is it's skewed upwards because of the Jalen Hurts rushing touchdowns. So that obviously equates the EPA. That's why like the success rate being so bad, and the Eagles rush success rate in general all years, they're only 9th in it. So it's not like they've been a very successful running team.
No. Also, I haven't seen a single wham block concept this year. Like, it's something that Jeff Stoutland used to do so much. Like, you remember Jordan Howard? Those years, it was wham blocks at least 5 times every game, and it just worked so well because you would have Dallas Goedert taking out defensive tackles, and it's completely missing.
They've gotten soft a little bit, Thomas. Like, they've got soft a little bit. Does it seem like that? Like, I don't remember the Eagles offensive line getting bullied or tossed around like this, and just like not being able to run like this. This isn't their identity. This isn't how the Eagles do things over the last 10, 20 years.
And even though that we started off this whole thing talking about how terrible of a report it was around Jalen Hurts, I think it's fair to have a conversation about the level of play that he's been putting on the field.
100%. That's what I want to talk about next. Jalen Hurts deserves criticism here. Like, he's not out of the criticism here. What are you seeing from him, I guess, over the last few games that have concerned you?
Indecisiveness. A lot of the time when he's in the pocket, he has two things. One, he usually have developing concepts down the field that are open, and he just doesn't trust it and doesn't release the ball. And then he panics because he sees it closing down, and that was the original concept. And he starts scrambling out the pocket to try to find something outside the box. And usually nothing's there because the concepts have already been closed down. So seeing a lot of him not trusting what he's seeing and not letting the ball rip. Secondly, a lot of self-inflicted pressures where I think the offensive line has been playing really well for the most part, even when Jack Driscoll was in the game for Lane Johnson. I think he did a great job, but obviously you could tell that Jalen Hurts didn't trust him one bit. He was already escaping out the pocket before the play is all like even really set his feet on the drop back. So I think in this game as well, you had 2 plays where he was protected for 4 to 5 plus seconds, and he just finds a way to generate pressure on himself by trying to get out the pocket, and then the edge rusher could just kind of disengage and go upfield, and then he goes back in the pocket again, and somebody on the backside has lost. And in plays like that, you just want to decide, am I going to take off up the middle? Am I going to be throwing the ball, or am I going to throw the ball away? And sometimes, very rarely, I'll say this season, it leads to an Olamide Zaccheaus miraculous touchdown down the field when he's scrambling out the pocket. But more often than not, we're seeing throwaways, we're seeing loss of yardage because he just runs out of bounds. And it's killing a lot of plays on offense. And it's putting them in second and long situations a lot more than it's putting them in manageable situations to continue driving. That's what kills so many drives. And I think that's why it's like, if they have a successful drive, it's like 14 plays, touchdown, or it's 3 and out. There's no in between.
Mm-hmm. I like how you brought up the throwaway stat, because something I really noticed in this game, and then just kind of over the last few weeks, is the indecisiveness. It's like 2021 bad habits are starting to creep up a little bit. Like it's not. This isn't the guy. Like it's funny because like he's been so good in the second half and he's won the games. So like you kind of like forget about how the first halves went and how majority of the games went because again they're winning and they're beating good teams. But like he's bailing out of the pocket way too early, like you said. He looks flustered. Like he looks like he's not all up there. Like it looks like he's thinking about something else. I don't know how to explain it really. Like it's he doesn't look comfortable in the pocket. You said it perfectly. He's getting he's generating his own pressures. The throwaway thing is interesting. I dug these stats up. So as of right now, Jalen Hurts has 29 throwaways. He had 32 all of last year. That's including playoffs, by the way. So he's almost on pace to shatter his throwaway mark from last year. And it's just 150 fewer dropbacks right now. I think that's on him. Like he needs to find open guys. I also think the offense out of structure isn't getting the big plays that they should be getting. Like they're not doing a good job of reading where to roll out when the play isn't there, where to find the open grass. Like the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes is a great example. I'm not comparing them together, but a lot of Patrick Mahomes' greatness is when he's out of the pocket and they're creating plays out of structure and he doesn't have to throw the ball away because they're finding open space. And the Eagles, there was something I really wanted to focus on this offseason. I think I have a tweet about it. Like I remember randomly on like a July day, I was thinking like it'd be cool if the Eagles out of structure offense looked better, than it did last year. Because even last year it wasn't great, and this year it's like a disaster. Like they can't find open guys when Hurts is rolling out of the pocket. There was a play where like the whole offensive design of the play was on the left hand side, and Hurts rolled to the right. So when he's rolling to the right, there's no offensive players on the right hand side of the ball.
Yeah, and just to compliment on what you on what you said in terms of throwaways, his turnover worthy plays are also right up there with last year. I mean, the entire last year, including playoffs, he was at 12 turnover worthy plays in PFF. This year, he's at 12 already through 13 weeks.
Yeah,
and through 12 games. So he's turning the ball over more. He's throwing it away more. He's not good as a runner this year. He has a few QB keeps that result in touchdowns, but other than that, it's like when he decides to run, it's going to be a negative play. It's going to be a minus play, and basically kill it down for you. So if it's worrisome that you see clips of him in the pocket having things develop right in front of him, and he doesn't release the ball when that's the only thing right now he's good at.
He's actually been a better passer with a lot of metrics this year than last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
that's what he has to like. In terms of, I think also that like turnover worthy plays and throwaways are like. I think they say a lot about decisiveness.
Yeah.
And trusting what you're seeing down the field.
It's just like I said, in more of the offense this year, just like AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, fucking dunking on dudes, like just beating the guy in front of him, like winning one-on-one matchups. Like the Washington Commanders game is a great example when they put up 38 points. AJ Brown was amazing in that game. Like there was a lot of throws where it was just one-on-one wins, right? Like there isn't a lot of like creativity getting guys wide open. Like we haven't seen like a deep shot that's worked really since the Miami Dolphins game with AJ Brown. Like there just hasn't been a ton of juicy, fun, exciting moments. And we say all this like when the Eagles are still 7th in offensive DVOA. Like they're still a top 10 offense. So like I know it's funny because they're 10-2 and we're criticizing them so much, but the expectations are higher. There should be a better. The numbers should be better. They should be looking better. Like everything should be a step above than what is right now. I have a couple more offensive notes I want to throw away. And I don't know if you've noticed this because it's something I really noticed in the 49ers game. The play action game is gone from this offense. Like they're not fooled anymore by the play action. It was a disaster against 49ers. I think Hurts was like 2 of 9 on play action passes, something like that. I have stats from the entire season. So last year, the Eagles averaged 8.5 yards per attempt on play action passes. This year, they're sitting at 6.9. They were first in first downs on play action last year at 70 in the NFC. Right now, they're sitting at 40, which is 11th in the NFC. Like that's a whole part of the offense gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's because of the run game's not there. Like the linebackers aren't fooled anymore. The linebackers are sitting back. If like Fred Warner against 49ers just sat back and it wasn't threatened at all by the run game.
And they also not like also got like they're not afraid of Jalen Hurts running as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly part of it. Like
he's not taking up
1 and 2. And another thing is the too high coverages are really a problem for Jalen Hurts right now. He is seeing 45% of his throws on too high coverages. Last year was 33%. And he is 22nd in success rate against too high coverages. So that just goes back into play action. Like there's no safety up in the box because there's no threat to the run game. So it all tails back to run the fucking football. Like that's pretty much it. And and you were out front of a sign. You had a sign holding up for the NovaCare complex today. So that's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on Hurts? Anything else on the offense that you want to talk about before we move on?
No, I think we touched on it.
Okay, before we move on, I do have to let you know that the Double Link Podcast is sponsored by Sweat Tailor. Sweat Tailor is a casual clothing brand for men that carries hot hoodies, joggers, sweatpants, everything you can want in a boy closet. Sweat Tailor has. Use code BDEGST. That's BDEEGST for 25% off everything at sweattailor.com. Again, BDEGST for 25% off everything at sweattailor.com. Highly recommend the hoodies. They're very comfortable. The Double Link Podcast is also sponsored by BetterHelp. Life is hard. Everyone needs therapy in their life, especially with the winter weather coming. Use code DOUBLEDOINK for 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com. All righty. Excuse me. All right. That was kind of I felt a little like I'm down on this team too much, and they're at 10-2. You know, I felt that it was too negative the last 40 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's well deserved from the team.
What can they be better at? What, like on the offensive side of the ball before we move on? What do you, besides run the ball? Are there any concepts you're looking for? Any, like you brought up the under center stuff. What can Brian Johnson do better?
I think what I really like to see is AJ Brown, Devontae Smith over the middle. They're so good at it. And I really want to see the run game philosophically change from an option, have the quarterback read what's in front of him, to more of a downhill, use your, like you brought it up as well, use your O-line, who is the biggest strength of your team, basically. Combine them with running backs and just, go away from this finesse type. Oh, we're gonna see what they give us. We're gonna, because obviously Hurts isn't reading it correctly on plays. That happens a lot. He gives it off, or he should have been keeping it, and he's not an effective runner. We already brought that up a lot. To more of a dictate the game type of offense, like run it down throats of defenses. Don't have the offensive line in a position in RPOs where they have to be afraid of getting too much downfield in terms of illegal men downfield and those type of thing. Get more wham blocks in there. Get more powers in there. Get more outside tosses. Have Cam Jerkins and Jason Kelsey come out in the perimeter. I think we're seeing way too little of that, and just basically make it easy. I don't know. Make it easier for Jalen Hurts. Basically, I think is a good way to go about it. Don't make him read as much, because he's obviously not comfortable with it right now.
I like to see some bunches, some bunch formations, stack formations.
Yeah.
I like when they get the tight end on the move, and this is a thing that we can transition now into the Dallas game. Like things are going to get better because Dallas Goedert's back. And I really think this game, he did not, especially in the 49ers game, he did not trust the guy over the middle of the field. If it was a wide receiver, if it was a tight end, poor Albert Owen, Jack Stoll, because he wasn't even looking their fucking way all game. He did not want anything to do with any of the guys over the middle of the field. So I really think Dallas Goedert just coming back in general is a huge asset to this team.
But honestly, just for the Eagles, take a look at what the Dallas Cowboys are doing. They're running the ball so effectively from under the center, they can use the play action. They have a bunch, like you brought up the bunch formation. They're using bunch a ton, where they have man coverages on the defense confused because who's covering who when they're crossing out of a bunch formation, and then they have a couple of rollouts where there's an easy check down to a tight end, or there's a deeper crossing down the field.
And I also think this is like the tight end screen game, and the screen game in general just needs to come back. Right now, they only have 9 first downs on screen passes. Last year, they had 22. I know a lot of people get frustrated with screen passes, but when the Eagles run it effectively, it works, especially on the outside for Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith. Those two guys are really good at it. And I feel like they could do a better job of just getting like the easy buttons, getting easy first downs, because everything just seems so complicated right now. And I really think that has to be on Brian Johnson, Nick Sirianni. I will say this: I do trust them to fix it, and I do trust them to to get things going and get things more creative, because that's what they've shown us in the past. We saw an offense transition from week 7, 2021, from like a whole like deep passing game transition to a more simplistic offense. Like Nick Sirianni deserves a ton of credit over his time in Philadelphia to adjust to what's coming up and what they've done in the past. So I think Eagles fans should be confident and should have faith that they'll get it figured out.
Up to this point, I think what we can do is basically say that it's probably going to be a wake up game and that they're going to get it right after this one. But I mean, anytime you get absolutely stomped and looking incapable of playing football, you're always a little bit worried afterwards.
For sure. Okay, and I actually, did you think? I think Eagles fans have handled this loss pretty well.
Yeah,
I haven't seen nothing crazy.
No.
I was expecting absolute disaster on the timeline on Monday, and it hasn't been that way.
Yeah, I think it's going to be if we lose to Dallas, it's going to be way different.
Yeah, which let's jump into. So the Eagles take on the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Pass it to you. Specific matchup you're looking for. We can start wherever you want to lean. But what are you looking for?
Cowboys offense against the Eagles defense, because I think the Dallas Cowboys had so many chances to score a shit ton of touchdowns against the Eagles last time they played. I think there was at least 3 plays that I counted there at the end of the game where Dak misses an open guy in the end zone or in a mismatch. Like we saw Turpin on Zach Cunningham on 2 plays where he's wide open in the end zone. There was I think Dallas had a chance to put that game away just in the same way as the 49ers, and it could have been steamrolled. But Eagles managed to hang on. Mostly, what I think is based on faulties from the Cowboys offense. So I'm looking forward to that matchup between the Eagles offense, Eagles defense against the Cowboys offense, because I think that is by far the biggest mismatch in the game.
Yeah, don't have a lot of confidence in this matchup right now. So the Cowboys offense is fucking rolling right now. They're first in paper play since week 6. So they literally, since they got their ass kicked against the 49ers, right? When they got blown out on Sunday Night Football, that was week 5. And since then, they have bounced back to be the best offense in the NFL. First in paper play since week 6, second in success rate. They're first in drop back EPA and drop back success rate. Their passing game has been magnificent since then. So maybe getting your ass kicked by the 49ers is the worst thing in the grand scheme of things. So maybe the Eagles could use some of that, right? And learn from the Cowboys what they've been going through.
Yeah, I mean, I'm worried that this game is going to put a stamp on who the class of the NFC East are, and who are in the in-between. Because right now, if you just look at it from an EPA side, you have the 49ers who are first in offense, Cowboys are third in offense. And on defense, you have Cowboys in third, you have the 49ers in the fourth. Eagles are just barely a top 5 offense in terms of EPA, and they're 28th or 29th or 27th, so in that area on defense. Like, the Eagles' defense and their inconsistencies on offense, just in terms from a schematic standpoint, from my point of view, is separating them from being a top of the NFC. Now, if the Eagles go out and they sweep the Dallas Cowboys, obviously it's a whole nother situation, because obviously you swept them, you beat them twice, and you're right there in the driver's seat for the number 1 seed. But if they go out in this game and you see a clear class difference between the Eagles and the Cowboys, the Eagles should be removed from being the top of the NFC. Like, they're not even close. If they get their ass
right now, I think the 49ers are the best team in the NFC. Like, they just
100%.
The Eagles, right? Yeah, and I can make the argument the Cowboys are probably 2. Like right now,
yeah, exactly.
this is right now. Like,
if you go back-to-back games of being whooped by the other 2 contenders in the NFC, it's going to feel a lot different heading into the playoffs. You're going to be the Eagles are going to be in the playoffs, but the whole vibe around the team going into the playoff and the confidence in the team when they actually get there is going to be a lot different than from having swept the Dallas Cowboys. So this is a massive game just in terms of vibe check around the team, what they can actually be. Because if they get their ass beaten twice, and I think there's a very real chance of that, it can look really, really bad in terms of being a top team in the NFC.
Yeah, well, you'll get a lot of criticism in the media. Like, if they lose by 6 to plus points in this game, and it's not like really close, It's hard. It would be hard to feel confident in this team if you're a fan of it, and just in general because it's a "what have you done for me lately" league, and the Eagles would be 0-2 against the two biggest NFC contenders, and they would be out of the number one seed. They would be tied with either 49ers and Cowboys for the number one seed, and especially and then the division in the NFC East.
Probably with the
I
Lions too.
I don't think a loss here is the end of the world at all. Like I think no, if they do lose, it's going to be an overreaction. I get it, and we'll be on here critiquing what went wrong, but it's not really the end of the world at all. I ran through a draft simulator, or not draft simulator, sorry, a playoff simulator on predictability today. If the Eagles were to lose against the Cowboys and then win their last 4 games against the Seahawks, Giants twice, and Cardinals, they would have a 72% chance of winning the NFC. So it doesn't like if they lose this game, it doesn't completely take them out because the Cowboys
win.
I didn't do if they win. I only did if they lost. I wasn't concerned if they won. I should have done if they won. That would have been better content. But like I was just trying to get understand like if they do lose, how big of a deal is it? And it's not. Now the problem is you have to win their last 4 games. Like the Seahawks are no slouch. And the Cardinals that week 17 game, there's going to be some John McGannon revenge factor. Kyler Murray starts the spot. Like I could see the Eagles dropping that one. Like it's not all. If they lose, they still have to win the last 4 games and shit has to happen around them. But like, if they do lose here, I think it's important to remember that the season, they're still 10-3 and it's not over with yet, but it won't look good. It won't feel good. And I completely understand that because I will be involved in that. A couple more matchup things on the Cowboys offense against the Eagles defense. I would really like to see Slay follow CeeDee Lamb around a bit in this game. I need to see it. Like you're paying Darius Slay so much damn money. Let him follow CD around because they didn't do that in the last game. They tried other ways to do it. They tried to bracket coverage him with 2 guys, and Darius Slay wasn't one of them. They tried guys over the top. They tried everything else except let Darius Slay follow him around. And I really, really, really want to see that in this game. It's like my main point. I have it in capital letters and bold in my note sheet right now. Let your high price corner follow him around.
If he doesn't do it, do you think it's because he doesn't want to?
I don't know. Like it's the thing. I don't know if he doesn't want to, but you pay him so much damn money. I don't understand why you're not using him like that.
Yeah, I'd be so pissed if I was the defensive coordinator and I asked him to do that, and he was like, "No, I'm an outside cornerback."
No, man, I don't think it can't be Darius Slay saying no. Could it? Maybe. I don't know. It seems a little far fetched.
I don't know. I think he has a very decisive personality.
They should have been the middle of the field, like it's you're an outside corner, should not matter for a guy like Darius Slay.
No.
I get it for the other guys. Like I get for cornerbacks and cornerback 2s on roster and guys you don't trust. But Darius Slay should be able to go in the middle of the field with CeeDee because he's going to be in the middle. They're going to move him around. They did it a ton against Eagles last game. And Jake
won. And won in that. When they did that, they were good.
CeeDee Lamb dominated, man. He had arguably his best game of the year against the Eagles. So they need to figure out some sort of way to slow him down. And I really think just having who are fans and everyone agrees your best cornerback, follow him around. And another thing is Jake Ferguson's going to be targeted a lot in this game. He had 10 targets, Thomas, in the last game against the Eagles. That was his highest output of the season. He went for 91 yards. He was very good in that game. He's playing very well. He looks like a legit number 2 option he's their number 2 option right now behind CeeDee Lamb. So I don't know how you stop him. Like we got Shaq Leonard coming in on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know how this works. Like you're gonna have Kevin Byard was picked on a lot in that game when they had him on Jake Ferguson. Now that was his second game with the Eagles, right? Second or third game with the Eagles. So like it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was early on in his tenure there, so there was a tough matchup for him. Just a tough kind of spot.
Teams have been picking on him.
Yeah.
They want to target Kevin Byard.
Byard and Morrow, especially. Like those are the 2 guys that they're really starting to zoom in on. What do you have you watched any Shaq Leonard film? What's your takeaway on what the Eagles should expect from him?
None whatsoever.
None? I haven't really either. I watched a couple of YouTube guys are breaking it down for me. I've gone in myself and done it. And what I'm getting from it is hamper expectations. It's probably not going to do much, but can't be worse than Nicholas Morrow. That's kind of what's my big take because it literally that was the worst linebacker game I've seen a player play in a very long time. So I think Shaq Leonard is an upgrade, but how big of an upgrade is it is the question.
I mean, Zach Cunningham was also having a really, really bad season before he joined the Eagles, and he's been playing pretty good football.
And they're going to get him back this week as well.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right, so he was a limited participant in practice today. Jeff McClain had a report earlier today that they expect him to be back. So we're probably looking at a Shaq Leonard, Zach Cunningham combination at linebacker in this game. Eagles offense versus Cowboys defense. I don't have too much. Oh, one more on the defense side of the ball. I think Terrence Steele can be had on the other side. I think Hassan Reddick really has to step up in this one because Josh Sweat has been running against Tyron Smith most of the time when they played against each other the last like 3 games. So expect Swift on the left, on the right hand side, Reddick on the other side. I think Reddick has to win that matchup. Terrence Steele's allowed 40 pressures this year. He's one of the worst graded offensive tackles in the league. He's their weak link on offense, is Terrence Steele. Their offensive line is stout outside of him. So they're going to have to win that one-on-one matchup there. And then on the offensive side of the ball for the Eagles, slow down Micah Parsons, pretty much it. The Cowboys defense isn't very good right now. Like they just got lit up by the 49ers, or by the Seahawks, sorry. I also was looking up, like Geno Smith was just incredible in that game. He had a 15.9% big time throw rate in that game. Jalen Hurts right now is a 5.2%, to put that in perspective.
Yeah.
Like Geno Smith was making some incredible throws. But the Cowboys defense should be able to get half. Eagles should be able to put up points.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, 56 minutes in of us rambling about the Eagles 10-2. The sky is falling. Anything else you got in your mind before we make our predictions?
Let's hit it.
All right, Thomas, are they winning this game on Sunday Night Football in Dallas?
Absolutely not.
Can they cover the spread? The spread's 3.5 right now at FanDuel.
Absolutely not.
No. All right.
Nope.
Give me your reasoning. What's going to happen?
I think the defense is going to get absolutely slammed, and the offense is going to be trying to play catch up. There's going to be some bad turnovers. They're on Bland pick 6.
Holy Christ! You're just nothing. Nothing's going to the Eagles game right.
No. I think they're going to be driving off the shit game of the 49ers and get smothered in Dallas. It's in Dallas. It's a tough game. I think it's going to be 38-24.
The Cowboys have not lost a home game in 12 straight. It's a very hard place to go in and win.
I mean, it's
38-24.
It's kind of this season of those kind of records breaking. I'd say, like, the Eagles have never lost to the Jets. They do that. The Chiefs did not lose to the Broncos in I don't know how many weeks, on how many straight games they lost to the Broncos.
Yeah.
So
you're saying it's going to happen. The record's broken. The Eagles are going to win. Are you flip-flopping your story?
No, it's not going to
happen. Okay. I also don't think they're going to win this game. However, I do think it's going to be closer. I think it's going to be very similar to the last game. I just think the Cowboys are going to probably win it. I'm going to go 30-26 Cowboys. I think it's going to be close. I think the Cowboys cover by just the hair on their chin. I will say this. I think you're going to see a fired up Eagles team in this one. They just got their asses handed to them by the 49ers. You just had someone on NFL Network tell your quarterback that he needs to go to the bench. There is, if you need any sort of outside hype or any sort of outside motivation, it's there for you, Philly. It's there for you guys. Like David Carr rambling about nonsense. You got, like I said, getting your ass kicked against the 49ers. Deebo Samuel scoring 3 touchdowns on you. This is the game to kind of have that outside motivation to build yourself up. It's right there for the taking. And I do think you're going to see some of that in this game.
I'd love to see it. But I think you're right that in the beginning of the game we're going to see a lot of rah hype stuff, like high energy. I think that's going to be way out the door when the Eagles defense give up 2 straight touchdown drives, and I think you're going to be flat as fuck.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a tight one, of course, because Cowboys Eagles Sunday night is always a crazy game.
Yep.
All right. Anything else in your mind before we get out of here? Anything at all?
I need to go buy a broom just in case Eagles win, so we can post pictures of broomsticks.
Oh yeah.
The sweep.
Cowboys fans had a lot of fun with Eagles fans on Twitter last Sunday. I'm assuming they want to get that back.
If the Eagles lose, log off Twitter.
Again, if they do lose, it's not over and the sky isn't clearly completely falling, but we will talk about that next week. Thomas and I will be back at some point next week to discuss the Cowboys game. and preview the Seahawks on Monday night. The Eagles got another primetime game the week after. It doesn't get any easier for the scheduling. For the Eagles schedule doesn't get any easier after this one for at least one more week before they get out of the gauntlet. Anyways, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it. Make sure to check out Thomas's YouTube channel, Breaking the Birds. Make sure to follow him on Twitter. Make sure to follow me on Twitter. Make sure to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, Double Doink Podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to it on your audio, Apple, Spotify, you name it, we are there. Make sure to check out our sponsors, Manscaped, BetterHelp, and Sweat Taylor, and we will talk to you later.